Welcome everyone to Creepy Popcorn. My name is Jason.
My name is Marieli.
And we have some stories to tell you all about the phenomenon Bigfoot. And
if you end up liking this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you want more content like this, because we'll be coming out with more videos.
But without further ado, guys, let's just get straight into what you came here for. Alright everyone, we are going to start with my story first, and it's all about Bigfoot. But also what makes this a little bit more special is that I haven't told this story yet to Marieli, and she hasn't told her story yet to me. So this is going to be all authentic, okay? So whatever faces you get from all this is going to be real, because this will be her first time hearing my story, and I can't wait to hear her story, because I want to be wild too. But let's go right into it. This story was also obtained through Reddit. I found it very interesting, so I'm like, why not go over the story? And we're gonna have many more stories like this too, but this one stood out. So in 1977, all right, in Knox County, Maine, a witness by the name of Sean was a young boy at the time. He was in his kitchen one night when he saw a face looking in the window. The light from the kitchen lit up his face, and the witness could not believe what he saw. Okay? It looked like a Bigfoot, he says. The creature then looked into the eyes of the witness and then ran off. Sean told his parents and brother that he had seen a Bigfoot, though they all doubted him. About an hour later, the witness had to go out to use the outhouse. As he opened the door and stepped outside, he heard a grunt and watched as something ran up the hill into the woods. Sometime later during the day, the witness and his brother found a large track leading from the window up into the hills. The stride was massive, and the prints were huge. Sean claims that he could see his eyes in the window. So for him to stand outside and be looking in from the window, it must have been at least 8 foot 6 inches tall. Very high window. Many years later, not far from his sighting, a female cousin of Sean's claims that she was followed through the woods by a strange half-human deer creature. It had a human body, but a deer head. Very interesting. Sean's nephews, also in the same area, claim they encountered a 9 foot tall, 1,000-pound bipedal creature covered in black hair, with red eyes in the woods. It stared at the two boys and then began to charge them, chasing them for about 100 feet. They ran back to their home. Also, here are some facts. According to the person who got this story and put it together, this is what they said. When they read this report, the town and area seemed very similar. So they checked and found the following report from around the same time period and in the same general area. And the year was 1978, and apparently the season was very spring-like.
Okay, it's time for my story. The person who wrote this gives some context. 2 Vietnam vets were driving through the Cascade Mountains, eventually stopping near Dodge, Oregon. They encountered a Sasquatch family group and described an amazing experience. The witness, 73, who acts not to be named, recalled an incident in 2004 in which he claims that he encountered a Bigfoot family. He and his friend were both Vietnam veterans. The witness served between 1970 and 1970. At the time, his friend needed a ride back to VA Portland. While driving back to their homes, I don't know how to say this down, back to their homes in Estacada, Oregon, they decided to cut through the Cascade Mountains and stop at a small town known as Dodge, where an unused scaling station sat. The witness had hunted there previously and had observed a dead deer 20 feet up in the tree. And in the 1990s, he found a 19-inch foot impression in the dirt west to the station. After taking numerous back roads and side roads, they finally arrived there. The location was mostly overgrown. They curiously found piles of deer bones neatly separated. They also found some trees, which they had to climb over. The rest of this is from the person who submitted its point of view. I had no background or history about this thing, so I didn't know when it had or had not been used. We decided to go in for the first 50 feet or so. You could see around okay. After that, it was overgrown. You can see almost nothing but the little skid road we were on. Another 50 feet in, we come across a series of 5 or 6 alder trees at 8 feet tall. They were 3 inches in diameter. They had been pulled out of the ground and laid across the skid road. All these trees were oriented in the same way. 12-inch diameter root wads were green leaves still on the tree. We walked over and around these trees. Another 100 feet in, to just about where the old skid road stopped. We stood there looking around. We did notice 2 things that were not normal. There was a large rock, 3 feet in diameter, covered with moss that was laying on its side, with the bottom exposed. It was leaning up against a small tree, and the bottom of the rock was bare. I'd guess that the rock weighed well over 100 pounds. There were rocks here, but when a creek rock ends up 500 or 600 yards from any known creek, you have to wonder why. Next to the rock, and slightly above to its left, was a small vine maple tree. One of its bottom branches had been twisted around into a complete circle. The size of the vine maple opening was 1 foot. All behind the tree was nothing but heavy berry bushes. I bent down to look at the circle and then asked my friend to take some pictures, as I had seen this kind of activity before, not too far from here. After he took his pictures, I bent down again and was looking through the opening, and I saw a pair of eyes, 3 feet in the bushes, looking right back at me. The face was that of a small childlike creature, with lots of reddish brown black hair. Its head was pointed on top. It looked at me, then looked over its left shoulder, then looked back at me again. I looked where it was looking, and there sat another one about the same size right next to it. What was interesting about the second one is that it was holding an even smaller one in its arms. I stood up, told my friend, and then he came and looked and saw them too. We stepped back, not talking or making any noise, and then the very large adult showed itself to us. It was all black, hairy, and had dark, round pupils. The part of our eyes that are white, it was red. It was half upright, half down on its feet. It had its mouth open, like he was not pleased that we were there, and I could see all his teeth. They were all white and very squarish in shape. Its canine teeth were a little longer but flat on top. There was no pointed teeth. Its arms were spread out, about 8 feet, I guess. Each hand was holding a tree branch. My guess is, looking at us, just sitting up on its butt, so it was sitting down, and its head was above all the bushes, so it was 5 feet tall just sitting. We were standing 10 feet away, or less, from the creature, and neither of us felt afraid. I looked at its eyes again, and from either side of the edges of the eyes, you could see that there were membranes on the eyes, not the eyelids. They were between the eyes and the eyelids. They were also red. It's kind of like when you know how snakes close their eyes, see that like little thing go over? but it's not them blinking, but it's like that cover. That's what he's talking. I had to search that up. He says, "I'm not a biologist, but I've never seen any creature that had a membrane in it. The hair on its head was pointed. Its skin was a gray-black color, with no hair on it that I could see on its face or the bottom of its hand. Its lips were narrow slashes, and its nose was not flat nor very wide, but a little wider than ours and shaped the same. Its ears looked to be about the same size as ours, but were set a little higher on its head than ours. Maybe it looked that way due to the size of its massive jaw. Its hands were very large, and my estimate was that they looked to be twice the size of our hand or more. Neither of us felt threatened. We must have stood there for at least 2 or more minutes staring at each other. 2 or more minutes, and 10 feet or less in the wilds with anything like that feels like 2 lifetimes. We could hear other noises coming from the woods around us. Without talking or making any noise, we both turned slowly and walked out of the old skid row, climbing back over all the trees. We didn't talk until we were back inside the truck. My friend then had asked me what we just saw. I said I think we encountered a Sasquatch. We watched the woods a little more, saw no movement, and decided to leave. Since then, my friend has passed away. I've been back to that location at least a couple more times over the years, but the logging company that owned that land sold it to a new company that bought that land, and it has gone and logged it again. The government now owns that, and it is inaccessible."
All right, so today we just gave you guys 2 awesome stories, okay, of Bigfoot encounters. And I want to say both of these stories had a little bit of weirdness to them, especially when reading minds, where the Sean's female cousin had mentioned that this Bigfoot, or she didn't even really say that it was a Bigfoot, a creature that was like a human-like creature with horns on its head, with red eyes. Okay, but she had mentioned that in that same area she was being followed by this creature, which is the same area that Sean himself witnessed Bigfoot. And I kind of find that a little like
What's
weird.
going on in that area?
There seems to be more, and I would like to know if there's any more stories coming out of that area too as well, especially with potential maybe Bigfoot, and then this other creature that is unnamed, because I'm not even going to call it a Bigfoot, but whatever it is, it was enough to creep them out. And 1,000 pounds, 1,000 pounds.
I found that detail a bit specific. I'm like, did you weigh it? How do you know it's 1,000 pounds?
I mean, Bigfoot is known to weigh like 800 to 900 pounds. And, you know, of course, Bigfoot is extremely huge. But if I seen this man or this creature thing in the woods, or at least staring at me through the window, like let's say I was washing dishes and I just so happened to look out the window, you know, because I'm used to seeing a deer. I look out the window, it ain't no deer. It's something with red eyes, and it's a Bigfoot. Like crazy. I don't know what I would do. And like to run to your parents and then your parents don't believe you. It's like, this is a little weird. And it almost makes me feel like, okay, am I alone in this? And yeah, I find that to be, you know, again, it was a great story. And now your story.
What did you think?
Your
I said
story.
I had a good story.
Well, it's very interesting. Everything about your story was the fact that there was a family of Bigfoot.
So it was technically 4 Bigfoot. It was like 2 children, and
there were 2 juveniles.
And then it said that the second one was holding like a baby in its hands, and then there was the adult.
So what I find very interesting in your story is that they have similarities to, like, you know, caring for their loved ones. The fact that they were holding, you know, one of those things in their arms, it goes to show that they care like we care for ours, you know. But the fact that the dad showed up after the juvenile was there, you know, the kid, right? And then the dad shows up. What did you think of that? Like, why did the dad show up? Was it
So
because it was threatened?
I thought it was interesting because they had mentioned that all these trees had been pulled up out of the ground, and then like it sounds like they were like crisscrossed on the road, like making it hard to get in.
Making it hard for them to get
The
in?
humans.
The humans to get in.
Right? So it's almost
Yeah.
like, so he had mentioned that it was like, bro, what are you doing here? I took all the effort to like almost guard the
Yeah.
road so you couldn't drive up.
But nonetheless, the fact that the government pretty much took over the property,
It was like literally abandoned property. It's a scale station, something
Okay.
along those lines. But it had been
That makes
abandoned.
sense.
But it had been abandoned. It wasn't. I thought like gas station, but it's not a gas station. It's similar. It's kind of like a checking point for trucks.
And now the government now allegedly owns that area. Okay, so with the government,
It's now inaccessible when this guy
trying to go back?
had rolled up. He had been hunting in that area before. But now if he tries to pull up, I guess there's people there to stop him. Or there's gates now.
We do know that whenever the government gets involved, there has to be somewhat of a truth in this whole entire story.
Oh.
Now, guys, this was a great video. It has been a minute since we made one, and we're hoping to make more. These were two great stories combined into one video. Hope to give you guys more cryptid stories like these, and also paranormal. And once again, if you guys enjoyed the video you saw today, please go ahead and hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel for more content we will be having coming your way. But again, this is me, Jason,
Marieli.
telling you awesome stories. You guys take care. Have a great night. Be safe. Don't into your closet.
Or look out the window while you're washing dishes.
Or that. You don't want to do that. Red eyes, stay away. You guys take care. Enjoy.